Welcome, everyone, to It's Time to Excel, where we inspire and we ignite the possibilities that are all around us. Today, we're going to have a little bit of fun and we're going to talk about money. Surprise, surprise. I know you never saw that one coming. But of course, we've spent most of this month talking about money drains and what kind of things can we think of and how can we start putting our arms around managing our money. So today we're going to have a little fun with that, and we're going to actually figure out how we can start to make our money behave. So anybody that's ever had a puppy know that that tends to be one of the struggles is making them behave. They seem to have a mind of their own, and somehow it never correlates to what we're thinking. You turn your back, they're chewing on the cord. You turn your back, they're at the door somewhere else. You turn your back, they steal paper out of the garbage and shred it. I now no longer need a shredder. His name is Winston. I turn my back and papers miraculously get out of the garbage and land all over the floor. Anybody with a puppy can probably relate a little bit to that. So if you've ever dealt with a puppy, especially lab puppies, or even in this case, a cute little German Shepherd puppy, they're all about the same. They're crazy. They're nuts. How often does it feel that same exact way when it comes to the money in your business? It's crazy. It's nuts. It's all over the place. You have no idea. Your arms are not around it. You're just, you're making sales. All of a sudden they're increasing, but you look at your bank account and it's not. Why? Do you have your arms around what's going on? So let's talk about a couple of those things and have a little bit of fun with it. So let's get started. And let's see if I can get this thing to cooperate where we're going to go, because we're going to take a timeout. Because how often do you got to put the puppy in and give him a timeout? I don't know about you, but I've been known to do that once, twice, 3, 4 times a day, depending. Cages make nice times out or whatever you need to do, because you know what? We do take a timeout. It's time to start making your money behave. And it's possible. Why? Because money doesn't spend itself. So let's talk about that. For those that remember, several times I've talked about this before, there is a percentage that just drives me nuts. And it's at 82%. So for those who've heard me talking, you probably know what direction I'm going. And this statistic just hits home because it's revolving around money. And what is that? It's 82% of small businesses. The main reason they failed, 82% admitted the reason that they failed was the inability to manage their cash. I just don't like that odds. So I'm looking for folks that are ready to not be in the 82%, to be in the opposite side, because we're going to finally make our money behave. So let's talk about that. Sadly, I could see Winston doing this. For those that have met Winston, he's a lab pup, so this really could very well be him. It's not, but I'm thinking it's, very close to it, because often my floor does look like that. Thankfully, he has not found my wallet yet. We're going to try to keep him that way. But it's time. It's time to finally figure out how we can make our money behave, because the ultimate money, it's out there. Cash is the lifeline of our business. You get sales, you have cash. You exchange services for cash. What are you going to do with that cash? What ends up happening? We want to make sure we have our arms around it, because it's time to really make it behave and start working for us. Because if your revenues and your sales are increasing, shouldn't your bank account be too? And if it's not, why not? And what can we do? So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. I'm just going to throw it out there. So the first behavior that I want to start to try to tame is, too often you end up throwing darts blindfolded. So what's one of the areas? So I'm going to kind of shift gears a little bit. What's one of the areas that you potentially could get wrapped up in very, very quickly, and all of a sudden you run down a few extra rabbit holes? And that's going to be talking about marketing without a strategy. So it is very easy to get wrapped up in the marketing. Canva, you can play for ages on, for those of you who have done Canva. You can get into ads and sponsorships. Facebook's always offering you to boost your posts. Websites are not exactly cheap to create, but somehow you've got to have a presence out there. It all adds up. It's vital because without being out there, you're not known. If you're not known, you're not going to really get a whole lot of sales because you got to be known as the expert in your field and your services that you're going. You got to get out there and know what's going on. So it's vital. But too often I find with small business owners, they don't have a strategy when it comes to their marketing. They don't have a budget. And next thing they know, it's going crazy. As I said, websites cost different groups, depending if you're different networking groups. Some are free, some are low cost, some cost money. What makes sense? Each one has pros and cons. You've got to have a marketing strategy. And so we're going to start taming that. So what can we do? How can we kind of work through that? One of the things that we can do is get that budget in place. You guys knew that was coming. Anybody knows me knows that one was coming. What is our marketing budget? Okay, so a successful business owner knows they got to have a budget for it because it is part of doing business. So what can that strategy be? If you're just getting started out, Facebook is a great platform. Get out there and get into some groups. A lot of them are free. LinkedIn, get out there and get an opportunity to get to be known. Instagram and Twitter, like the list goes on and on and on. I kind of just stopped with the 3 little dots. Google, different things like that. It doesn't have to be high dollar, but it gets you a starting point. Even on websites, do you need this big elaborate website or can you get started with a one-page website? Most of us got started with a one-page website. That's part of the budget. So you start looking to see what options you have, what budgets you can do, and how much you have to work with. Then once you get that budget and you know how much dollars you're going to be working at, then you can start placing those dollars strategically. And when you do that, you can start making your money behave. Because now you're just not slapping things on, and now you're getting this fun little thing called return on investment. Business owners, successful ones, know they want a return on their investment. What does that mean? If I'm spending it, there should be a return coming back. So am I marketing in the right areas? In my world, let's think about this. If I want to target into business owners, specifically, is that more Facebook or LinkedIn? I don't know. What service am I offering? Think about it. Where do your clients, your avatars, your ideal folks that you want to work with, who you can help because you know they're paying and you have the solution for it, where are they hanging out? If they're on Facebook, then you need to be over on Facebook. If they're on LinkedIn, you need to be on LinkedIn. You get the idea. So what is your budget? And start putting those dollars so they come back for return on investment. What's another behavior? I have herding cats. Anybody ever do that? That's 3 out of the 4. Winston's not in that picture. That was before Winston came to live with us. But some days you feel like you're herding cats. And how often, when money, you feel like you're herding those dollars that are just flying out the window and you're just grabbing, trying to get them back. So what's another behavior that we can work on? I don't know about you, but my kids love squirrels and they find them everywhere. And in the business world, one of the biggest one is software squirrels. And you feel like you can whack-a-mole all day long. I kind of was talking about a little bit of that and having an opportunity to kind of share about whacking the mole and saying, okay, there's so much software out there. What makes sense? What are you investing in? What direction are you going in? What softwares do you need? A lot of questions on there. And those are things that you need to answer. And I'm trying to see how much battery life, and I can't tell because I'm getting the error message that says I'm losing battery life. You got to love it. And I can't get down here to find out. So if I actually go dead, you'll know that we're just going to come back and do this later. But think about it. There's squirrels everywhere. And you can play whack-a-mole all day because you got to hit those critters, but you got to be fast at it. So you do need the right software in place. You do need the right tools in place. You got to catch a squirrel or two. So where do you start? Because there's so many softwares out there. You got to start somewhere. And there's pros and cons to every one too. It is possible to herd cats. And yes, I've got pictures. Now, they weren't all looking at the camera, but I got them all sitting down with me. It is possible because you've got to invest in the right software. So what are the two softwares that I recommend that you get started with? You need some kind of customer database, a CRM, customer relationship management. You got to be able to organize your customers, their profiles, your prospects in one spot so that you can get your fingers back on it. Sticky notes are great. In my household, I love sticky notes. Winston does too. More often than not, I have no idea what that sticky note says, and I'm really not going to wait to find out. Yeah, okay, we won't go down that path. You get the idea. You've got to have your customer and your prospect and your lead information somewhere that's accessible and organized. It's the only way that you're going to get to a point where you're going to be able to make sure things are behaving themselves, especially. So if you're going to invest in that, make sure you're investing in the right one. I currently use Zoho. I've had good success with Zoho. That is one that I actually use for the CRM, and I've talked about that before. The other big crucial thing that you've got to have is the accounting. You've got to have a system in place to track your income and expenses. It's non-negotiable. If you're going to be in business for any length of time, you're going to track your numbers because it's the only way you can make data-driven decisions. Otherwise, you make emotional ones. You should never have to really look at your bank account more than once a month to make sure there's nothing goofy going on because the budget tells you where your money's going, not that bank account. Too often, small business owners check their bank account to make a decision. That is not the way you want to do it. We need to have the right software in place to be able to track income and expenses in a fashion that is simple and makes it easy for you to make decisions. But to get there is not necessarily easy, but it is simple. You've got to have an accounting software. That is a given. So those are where you're going to get started with. So you can go whack squirrels all day long. You can chase squirrels all day long. But let's start to make them behave. It is possible. Find a CRM, find an accounting system, start there. And there's all kinds. Of course, you guys know that I teach QuickBooks Online. I get folks set up. I do a lot of cleanup in QuickBooks Online. That is my specialty. For those that are interested in learning a little more about that, make sure you reach out. What else can we work on? What else? Well, how about doing it all yourself? You try to do it all by yourself, you're going to get bit. It going to happen. It is what it is. And Bennett's kind of telling Bear, you can't do it alone, bud. You just cannot. And I'm going to tell you about it. That's our old man. He's currently 16, 17, somewhere in that vicinity. And he was telling Bear about it. And Bear's like, oh, okay. But it's vital. You can't do it all yourself. Outsourcing, keeping it in-house, what's the answers? Every business is different. Every business owner is different. I can't afford it. I just can't afford it. How often I've heard that. My flip side to that is, can you afford not to? How much is it truly costing you to do this versus working with someone that's their strength? Perfect examples as bookkeeping and accounting, taxes. I don't claim to know taxes. I don't. Too many things. But I can make sure your books are up and running, and I have the accounting knowledge to be able to make sure we wrap all of this together. You can do it yourself. That's great. I even work with folks and just do check-in and accountability plans. Or if you need me to take care of the bookkeeping for you, we're getting that input. So we're now able to offer accounting services. And I work with accountants so we can branch out from there. So now we've got the whole big package. Okay, yeah, it's a service that we provide, but is it worth it in your business to outsource that to the respect that the transactional pieces are done for you so that you're handed reports to actually know what's going on and start making decisions that are going to keep more money in your pocket because you've gotten your money behaving because you know what's going on. Now you can start making good decisions going from there. You can't do it all at hat. Yeah, you got to wear all the hats, and it's a slow process. Just don't make it so slow that you don't get there. So something to think about and something to consider. All right. So how are we going to do that? Outsource wisely. There's only 24 hours in a day. That's it. Unless everybody figures it out, let me know. I don't think I want to know. I don't want more than 24. Virtual assistants are a great option. Find a good bookkeeper or tax accountant. Find somebody to partner with in that respect. And it's worth getting the support that you need. Because ultimately, in the long run, it's going to cost you more. So there's a few of the things to start, but outsource wisely. That's the trick. So anyhow, what are some other little things we can do? I've talked about this before. Make sure your business and personal accounts are separate. If you're going to dedicate a credit card because you don't have a business one yet, dedicate one credit card to it. Keep them corralled. Keep those little boundaries on your accounts. And business expenses are in the business account. Personal expenses are in the personal. Do not switch them up and do not intermingle them. Are you going to invest? Absolutely. We just need to account it properly. You're allowed to invest in your business, and you are most certainly expected to take a draw from your business. You're supposed to get paid from your business. That's why you're in business. Otherwise, it's called a hobby. Keep them separate. Start the habits. Even if you're just starting out, start the habits now. Much easier to start a habit when it's not so chaotic. But even if you're not, start where you're at and get them separated. In 2022, make that decision. You're going to have them separated. And then, of course, invest in the system. Get the system that's going to track those income and expenses as we're going, as well as create you the reports that you need, which is one of the reasons I do like QuickBooks. It's fairly all-inclusive, and there's some simple things that you can do to make life a lot easier, and it provides the reports at your fingertips. So, of course, I always ask this question. I'm always getting asked, what's the best system? It's real simple. It's just the one you're going to use. So, as we're talking about that, once we get the reports, what are we going to do? You got to look at them. Funny thing, you can produce them all day long, but if you don't look at them and see what the numbers are telling you, it doesn't get you very far. Just a thought. So start looking at understanding. And that's something I work with my clients for. And those that are, we're looking at those numbers. We need to know so that we can start making good decisions. Do we need to be moving or shifting dollars over here this way? Where, okay, how much profit are we working on? How much do we need to reinvest? Where's our rate? All of this blends into those reports. So what are your reports telling you? You got to know. What reports am I talking about? Of course, the profit and loss simply identifies the profit or the loss in your business. Did you spend more or make more? What are you doing? Which direction you going? And it's going to go up and down. You're in business. It's part of the deal. But you need to know that. You need to see the trends. You need to see what's going on. What are those numbers telling you? And of course, a budget. If you want to achieve your goals, your financial goals, you're going to have a budget in place. You've got to tell your money where to go. Don't wonder where it went, in the words of Dave Ramsey. So there we go. And of course, step 4 is very simple. Invest in the support that you need. They're there. They're available. Why not partner together so that you both can excel at what you're doing? So that's not where we want to go. And I want to encourage you to, by all means, let's start making our money behave. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and hopefully this got some food for thought as we're going and had some fun. I have to admit, Winston was actually relatively behaving himself, so I'm not sure if you heard him and Bear squabbling in the back, but they're having a good time chasing one another, and that's quite all right. And hopefully I will not find a whole boatload of additional papers that I need to clean up that apparently are now shredded. But nonetheless, we hope that you enjoyed. Make sure you keep turning in each and every Wednesday at 11:30 for different tips and tricks, because it is your time to excel. And we want to help you to do that. So thank you guys so much for joining us, for those that are here. And it's time. It's time to finally make your money behave. And it is possible. It is not complicated. It can be simple. It feels a little overwhelming at times, but it doesn't have to be. For those that would like a little bit more information, if you're just kind of curious, book a chat with me. Chatwithjanet.com. Go over there, grab the chat. I would drop it in the links, but apparently my links aren't working because that's just one of those days. My computer's not behaving. We're working on the money. But go to chatwithjanet.com and go ahead and schedule a chat at convenience to you. Let's start making sure your money's behaving. Have a great day, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a good one. Let's try